Get me that signal. We need more power.
Greetings, humans. I am Rotgrub the Goblin. Paizo has released a new game called the Pathfinder Adventure Card Game, Rise of the Runelords, and I'm here to tell you that only a filthy, disgusting human would even consider playing this game. Think about this. In this game, you're supposed to be a group of adventurers who are traveling from location to location, mercilessly slaughtering my friends and relatives as they go, all in the name of fun. And do they eat what they kill? No! They rifle through our clothes and take whatever isn't attached, and sometimes even what is attached. I was dead to the world this morning after a night of celebration, and woke to find this rogue going through my pants pockets. I had to tell him, sorry, that doesn't come off. And he was so surprised that he jumped up and ran like I was the devil himself. Ha ha ha! Let's see what the back of the box says about this so-called game. A forgotten evil stirs in the ancient land of Aricia. Dark magic once more thrums amid crumbling ruins. Giants gather in titanic armies. Cultists murder in the name of foul deities, and maniacal goblins, plot a fiery end for the peaceful town of Sand Point. Launch a campaign to strike back against the evils plaguing Varicia with the Pathfinder Adventure Card Game, Rise of the Runelords Base Set. Try saying that 10 times fast. Ha ha ha! This completely cooperative strategy card game pits 1 to 4 heroes against the traps, monsters, deadly magic, and despicable foes of the Pathfinder role-playing game's award-winning Rise of the Runelords Adventure Path. In this game, players take the part of a fantasy character such as a rogue or a wizard, each with varying proficiencies that are represented by the cards in their deck. The classic ability scores, strength, dexterity, etc., are assigned with different sized dice. Players can acquire allies, spies, spells, weapons, and other items. The goal is to find and defeat a villain before a certain number of turns pass, with the villain being represented by its own deck of cards, complete with challenges and foes that must be overcome. Characters grow stronger after each game, adding unique gear and awesome magic to their decks, and gaining incredible powers, all of which they need to challenge greater threats in a complete Pathfinder Adventure Card Game Adventure Path. That's what the box says. It's quite a mouthful. Let's take a look inside the box.
The box for Pathfinder is pretty big. It needs to be, as you will be storing 6 more expansions in the box if you purchase the entire campaign. You see, when you purchase the Pathfinder Adventure Card Game, you're not just buying a game to play on Saturday night, but you're buying the first set in a year-long campaign. And the box includes some scenarios you can practice on before you open the included adventure path set called Burnt Offerings and shuffle them in with the rest of the cards. Every other month, a new adventure path pack with 110 cards will be released. Your characters will gain power as you play through the scenarios, which will get tougher as the year goes on. In effect, you're starting a year-long Pathfinder RPG-like campaign that has no game master. Inside the box are hundreds of cards, including monsters, locations, adventures, barriers, weapons, spells, armors, character, and loot. The box has a place for each of the different card types, and the rules tell you where to put them all, which is pretty nice. Although, let me warn you in advance, don't turn this box upside down or store it vertically when you're storing it, because the cards fall out, unless you put some kind of nice soft padding on top when you close the box. Anyway, there are 7 characters in the base game, and each player needs to pick a character. Kira! There's Kira. She is a female human cleric, or a Sarandre. See? Female human cleric or Sarandre. Paizo sells an additional character add-on deck, which gives you 4 other characters to choose from, and other cards to add to the base set. So you're picking your character type that you want to play, but instead of rolling their stats, they are already listed on their card, along with their skills. Let me show you how the character card looks. For example, here is Kira. She has strength. Her strength is a die 6. If her melee is strength plus 2, so it will be a d6 plus 2. Her dexterity is a d4. Her constitution is a d6. Her fortitude is her constitution plus 3, so it's a d6 plus 3. Her intelligence is a d6. Her wisdom is a d12. Her divine is wisdom plus 2, so d12 plus 2. And her charisma is a d6. Now, as you go along, you notice these little boxes here. You'll be checking those little boxes as you earn experience. So instead of her strength being a d6, it would be, once this box is checked, it would be a d6 plus 1. Or a d6 plus 2, and so on. So you can see your ability scores are going to go up as the game goes on. Also, not every character has the same skills. Kira has melee, fortitude, and wisdom, but let's say Ezrin has arcane and knowledge. So everybody is kind of different. Also, about these character cards, it tells you how many cards you get to hold in your hand when you start, and Kira starts with 5. Eventually, she'll be able to hold 6. Plus your proficiencies, light armor, heavy armor, but not weapons yet, but she could get that eventually. And then here's little powers listed underneath, which really can come in handy. On the back, this is her card list of what cards she can start with. So 2 weapons, 3 spells, 2 armor, 1 item, 1 ally, and 6 blessing cards. And of course, these can go up as you play as well. Her favorite card type is a blessing. So that is the character card. Everything in the game is checks and is assigned a difficulty. Your stats and your skills tell you that type of die that you're allowed to roll for a check involving that stat or skill. You've got to roll equal to or higher than the difficulty level of the check. For example, you need to pass a wisdom check with a difficulty level of 11. And your wisdom shows that it's a D8. Well, obviously, you're not going to be rolling an 11 on an 8-sider, so you can use other cards that will give you additional dice to roll. Or another player can help you as well. This longsword, no, that's not going to help out. The character card also tells you the card types you'll need to assemble your character deck, as I mentioned. The back of the rule book suggests the exact cards to use if you want to get started right away. Otherwise, you can build your own as long as you follow the rules on the back of the card. So, I do like the rule book, by the way. This is the characters, and this is their how you build their suggested decks. So you can just start with those, or you can modify it yourself. And they even have the add-ons if you happen to get those. Now, the rest of the setup falls into place in a similar way. The Adventure Path card tells you what adventure card to use. So this is the Adventure Path card, and we are on the Burnt Offerings. Now this card will go for the entire year. until the entire campaign is completed. So we're on Burnt Offerings. So if you successfully complete this, you earn the reward listed at the bottom. Each character gains a card feat. Then you go to the Burnt Offerings Adventure card. And this tells you the different scenarios within this adventure pack. And the first one is Attack on Sand Point. Once you finish this entire adventure pack, each character also gains a card feat for completing the whole thing. The scenario card also tells you, in addition, it works the same way, and also tells you which location cards to use based on the number of characters in the scenario. So this is the Attack on Sandpoint scenario, scenario 1, and here's the number of players along the side, and this is the locations that you pull out of the location deck depending on the number of players. Well, I'm setting this one up for 2 players, so we'll have Town Square, Swallowtail Festival, the City Gate, and Sandpoint Cathedral. If you're going to play solo, which you can play solo and it's actually a lot of fun, but I recommend that you use at least 2 characters if you do. You'll pull the location cards out of the box and build location decks following the instructions on the cards. Here is a location card, and this is the deck list. So this Town Square location deck will have 1 barrier card, 2 monsters, 1 weapon, 2 spells, 1 item, 2 allies, and that's a location deck. And then there's specific instructions for each location. At this location, you may discard a card from your hand to explore during your turn. This card may not be recharged. When closing, banish a card from your hand. When permanently closed, on closing, each character at this location must immediately choose a card and recharge it. Each character may then draw a card. So here is the assembled deck. It's all nicely shuffled in there. We don't know what's actually in there, but there's also the bad guys in there as well. The scenario card also tells you which villain and henchman to use, and those are also mixed in the location decks, so that each location has at least one of these cards, but you don't know where the villain is for sure. Finally, you count off 30 blessings cards, and these will time your game. Each turn, a player flips over a blessings card, and when the pile runs out, the game is over. The players lose if they do not defeat the villain before the pile runs out. That's this deck right here. It's 30 of them. Your goal is to close each location and defeat the villain before time runs out. Now, before we go through a turn, let me point out as an interesting mechanic, your deck of cards is your hit points. If you ever run out of cards, your character is dead and you're out of the scenario. You'll have to choose another character the next time that you play. Your discard pile doesn't count, only your draw pile. Although there are some ways to get cards from your discard pile back into your deck. Let's go through a turn so that you can get an idea on how the game is played. So we're going to do Valorus's turn here. There he is at this location, the Sandpoint Cathedral, all by himself. Now, usually I would say in a 2-player game, or if you're playing solo with 2 characters, have them go to the same location. It can really help them out. But the turn overview, first of all, you advance the blessings deck. So you flip over a card, tick, 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 only 29 turns to go. Next, you can give a card at your location to another character who's at your location. You can move to another location if you want. So if I wanted to join Ezran over here, I could do that. But I'm Valoros. I don't care. So I'm staying here. Then you will explore the top card of this location deck, the one that you're at. So I'm going to flip that over. Oh no, it's a Goblin Raider. He's a henchman. So he is the big bad in this particular location. He just happened to be on top. I wonder how that happened. So, what does he say? He is a monster. Check to defeat is combat of 8 or higher. If undefeated, bury 1 item or weapon of your choice from your discard pile. If defeated, you may immediately attempt to close this location. Oh, okay, that would be great on the first turn, closing a location. So let's see if we can beat him. It's the combat. So we're going to go by, he happens to have a long sword sitting here, which is nice. He's got a couple in his deck. For your combat check, reveal this card to roll your strength or melee die, plus 1d8. You may additionally discard this card to add another 1d6. If you are proficient with weapons, the difficulty of this check is increased. If you aren't proficient with weapons, the difficulty of this check is increased by 4. Well, Valeros is proficient with weapons because that's what he does. So, he gets to roll his strength, his melee die. Looking at his card, his melee is his strength plus 3. So that's a die 10 plus 3 plus an 8-sider for using the long sword. And I could add other stuff to it if I had it, but I don't. So I won't. So a 10 and an 8. The goal is to get 8 or higher. And I rolled a 9 plus 3. That's 12. So this guy is toast. And so he's defeated. If defeated, you may immediately attempt to close this location. He goes back in the box, and we're going to attempt to close this location. What does it say for the location when closing? Banish either a blessing or Father Xanthus. Well, I don't happen to have a blessing or Father Xanthus, so I can't close the location, which sucks! That would have been perfect, but I can't close the location on the first turn. If I'd been smart, I would have looked at what it was before exploring here and probably would have started Valeros out someplace else until I had a card in my hand that would have helped me been able to close it. But I wasn't smart. Oh, the shame. So he can't close it. That means he's got to go through this entire deck dealing with every card before he gets another chance to close this location. Not good. So we're going to go on to Ezran's turn. First, we'll flip up the blessing card for him. Oh, I forgot one thing. Resetting your hand at the end. Well, Valeros didn't use any of his cards. He just revealed his longsword, but it goes back into his hand. It didn't say discard your longsword, or it didn't say recharge your longsword, which means it goes at the bottom of your draw pile. It didn't say bury your longsword, which means you hide the card for the rest of the game underneath your character card. And it didn't say banish the longsword, which means you put it back in the box and you don't even think about it for the rest of the game. So, we go on to Ezran. Flip up a blessing card. Only 28 turns left till the game's over. And then we can give a card to another player. Well, I don't feel like it because there's no other characters here. I can move if I want. I can explore the top card of the location deck. So we're going to do that. It's the ultimate villain. Okay, this is the ultimate villain. I'm not going to go through all of this, but just so you know, he takes 2 checks because it's Rip Nugget and Stickfoot. He is the big bad for the entire scenario. So you have to beat him twice. First, you have to beat him with a combat roll of 9 or better, and then you have to beat the other dude, Stickfoot, with Rip Nugget, with a combat roll of 10 or better. And before the encounter, you succeed at a stealth 9 check, or the difficulty to defeat Rip Nugget is increased by 2, so he would go up by a 12. Unless we rolled Ezran's stealth, which, he doesn't even have stealth. All he has is dexterity. So if you don't have the skill, it automatically defaults to a 4-sider. Yeah, that ain't going to happen. So that he would go up to a 12. So that would be a tough battle for Ezran. But now you see that's how a turn is played, and that's pretty much how Pathfinder the Adventure Card Game is played.
Between games, you earn the rewards listed on the cards. I can't help it, I just want to talk like this. Earn the rewards listed on the cards for successfully completing a scenario or adventure. You're supposed to mark these off on the cards themselves using a pencil, but I am horrified by this prospect. I'd much prefer to have an actual character sheet that I mark up for this purpose without writing on my precious cards. And I will probably scan all of the character cards and print out my own sheets. Maybe everyone isn't as anal about these things as I am, but I'm not about to start writing on my cards.
I found this whole concept and game brilliant. It really feels like you're playing a card game version of an RPG. You can add to the feel of this by actually reading all of the flavor text on the cards. The fact that they have already mapped out a full year-long campaign is just amazing. Although they might regret their decision if there turns out to be some problem that needs correcting, and the entire set has already gone to the printers. This game is fun, it's challenging, and it has the mechanisms in place for improving your characters over time. Each time you purchase a new adventure pack, you simply shuffle all of the new cards into the old ones. Now, eventually you'll be told to start removing certain types of cards as the campaign matures, but they've already planned it out, which is excellent. I'm giving this game a big recommendation, especially those RPG fans who really don't have the time to play RPGs anymore and are looking for a board game equivalent. No, it isn't exactly the same. You don't get that freedom to imagine and act like you do in an RPG. But it is a nice little simulation. One thing that I would like to see is for them to develop the ability to generate your own characters. I don't know how they would do it. I would think that a program or app would be the best way to let players create balanced characters. In fact, an app on my phone that would let me track my character on the phone rather than marking up my cards would be an excellent way to leverage technology with this game. Thanks for joining me for this review of Pathfinder Adventure Card Game, Rise of the Runelords Base Set. Let me know if you found this review helpful by leaving a comment or sending me an email at Elliott_Miller@voiceofe.com. Make sure to subscribe to the Voice of E, my channel on YouTube, as I'll have plenty of gaming, entertainment, and comic book coverage this year. And it should be a lot of fun. Thanks again, and until next time, keep your mind free.
Get me that signal. We need more power.